And we begin with this Eyewitness News exclusive tonight on Eyewitness News at 6 as we continue to dig deeper into those arrests of special needs teachers and aides in 2 Kanawha County schools accused of abusing students, many of them nonverbal, unable to speak for themselves. It's a crisis in the classroom, and Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin has been there for every development along the way. And now she's sitting down with parents who are pushing for change to the laws that they say would better protect some of the state's most vulnerable children.
Rick, parents were undoubtedly stunned and shaken when these reports started coming out last year. And with the West Virginia legislative session starting tomorrow, Beth and Craig Bowden say now is the time for lawmakers to realize that the mere presence of cameras in special needs classrooms just isn't enough. 9-year-old Trenton Bowden has been through a lot this school year.
Is it right for a teacher to slap you? No.
The Holtz Elementary School 3rd grader, one of several students police say were verbally and physically abused by their special needs teacher, Nancy Boggs, who now is facing more than a dozen battery charges. Misdemeanors in the eyes of the law in West Virginia.
It was a shock, and I think it was a shock for a lot of people that what she did wasn't a felony.
Beth and Craig Bowden stunned when they learned of the charge, which carries a $500 fine and up to a year in jail. They want lawmakers this session to take a close look at the issue and make it a felony for a person in position of trust, like a teacher, to hurt a child.
Children like Trent deserve to have a future that's bright, and they deserve to have an education where they feel safe.
It's the same story at Horace Mann Middle School, where a special needs teacher and 3 aides are also facing battery charges. Video inside both of these classrooms capturing the alleged incidents that range from slapping, smacking, shoving, and berating students, but not brought to light until complaints were raised, triggering the review of the cameras.
Abuse is happening in the classroom, and the presence of cameras isn't deterring it. But, you know, honestly, it's not being watched regularly, and the school personnel and the teachers know that are doing this abuse.
In 2019, West Virginia passed a law that put cameras in hundreds of special needs classrooms. The law sparked by an incident in Berkeley County after a mother hid a recording device in her daughter's hair, capturing disturbing comments from the teacher and aides. But now the Bowdens say the law is too restrictive when it comes to when that video can be viewed, who can see it, and how long it's kept.
I think there was probably a lot more going on in that classroom, probably from day one. And I think that as parents, we deserve to see that.
As it stands now, the law says the video is to be kept for 90 days. After that, it's mandated to be deleted or made unretrievable, and the video can't be viewed unless an incident is reported.
We want to know what happened. We want to be able to watch every minute of the video and see exactly what happened throughout the whole school year.
The family using their story to push for change at the Capitol this session, asking for the footage to be reviewed monthly, kept for longer periods of time and not deleted, and able to be viewed without a complaint being raised. They'd also like for bathrooms, which are unmonitored, to be audio recorded. They fear abuse is happening there without fear of being recorded and caught.
These circumstances happened in Kanawha County in this last year. It definitely proves that we need to relook at those provisions, relook at those laws.
Lawmakers confirmed to Eyewitness News that bills are being drafted.
Most of the schools and the teachers and the principals, they want to take care of it, but every now and then something slips through, and we need to have check and balances to make sure these don't go through and hold people accountable to their actions.
Hoping their story is the beginning of something new.
We've got to get these laws changed. West Virginia needs to do better, and we can do better.
And a reason kids like Trenton are protected in the classroom. So what does Kanawha County Schools think about the issue? A spokesperson tells me that they will be happy to share their experiences with lawmakers to help them understand how these cameras can be better used as tools to detect abuse instead of just investigate it. The Bowdens tell me that they're going to be paying close attention to Governor Jim Justice's State of the State speech tomorrow night. They hope he will take notice of what's happened in Kanawha County and also push for these changes. For now, reporting in Charleston, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.
Continuing coverage now of a story we broke here on Eyewitness News and continue to follow every day. Lawmakers considering changing the law when it comes to cameras in special needs classrooms across the state. Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin has more on what those changes would mean and why some say more needs to be done to detect abuse, not just investigate it.
We got to see with our very own eyes what kind of evil truly does exist in this world.
Craig and Beth Bowden are continuing their fight for change when it comes to cameras in special education classrooms across West Virginia.
I think the goal of this needs to be to stop abuse ASAP by detecting it ASAP.
Their 9-year-old son Trenton was one of 3 students in special education teacher Nancy Boggs' Holtz Elementary classroom that police say were physically and verbally abused. The 66-year-old longtime teacher is now facing 23 counts of battery and 1 count of verbal abuse of a non-communicative child.
One day that we got to view included slaps across the face, slamming heads on desks, throwing children to the floor by the hair of their heads, forcing a child to eat lunch in the bathroom floor.
This case and another at Horace Mann Middle School that led to the arrest of 1 teacher and 3 aides only uncovered after cameras put in special needs classrooms after a law passed in 2019 were reviewed. The law, as it's written now, does not allow for that video to be reviewed unless a complaint is raised. Senate Bill 261, if passed, would now require a school to designate someone to review the video periodically for at least 15 minutes in each classroom and at least every 90 days.
And without monitoring these recordings, the abuse will continue happening. We're seeing it.
Right now, the video is mandated to be deleted after 90 days, but Senate Education Committee members also agreed to add language that allows for it to be saved after that 3-month period and would keep the video accessible for the entire school year.
Unfortunately, you know, only God can get rid of evil in this world. So this is going to happen again. I mean, I promise you.
In Charleston, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.
Well, a former teacher at Holtz Elementary in Charleston has admitted to abusing students inside her special needs classroom.
Yeah, the guilty plea coming today from Nancy Boggs before a packed courtroom. Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin first broke this story when the investigation launched last year, and she's followed every development since. So, Leslie, what did Boggs have to say to the judge today?
Dave, they were the words that those families wanted to hear Nancy Boggs say, that she was guilty. She said it 10 times for each of the 10 counts of battery that she pleaded guilty to today.
With respect to count 1, how do you plead guilty?
Alarming admissions.
How do you plead guilty?
From a former teacher entrusted to educate and care for some of the most vulnerable students.
We trusted this woman with our child. I had a wonderful opinion of her prior to finding out that she abused my child.
Beth Bowden's 9-year-old son Trenton, one of 3 students with special needs that Nancy Boggs admitted to abusing inside her classroom at Holtz Elementary last September. The abuse caught on camera. Several months later, the 67-year-old was indicted on 24 charges, all misdemeanors. Now she's pleaded guilty to 10 of them.
I drove A.S.'s head down with my right hand and caused his forehead to strike the desk.
Reading a prepared statement for each of the 10 counts, she admitted to slapping students in the face, jerking one child back and forth by the hair, pushing a child's face into a filing cabinet, and jerking chairs out from under her students.
Hearing her say the words, although they were scripted and they were right in line with the indictment, just hearing her say it out loud, the person that was actually responsible for this abuse, it was a very weird feeling, and it almost made me feel kind of sick to hear her say it.
The West Virginia legislature strengthening classroom laws last session. It's now a felony for a person in position of trust, like a teacher, to abuse a child. Camera laws were also changed, making those videos easier to view and mandating they be regularly reviewed without a complaint first having to be raised.
These vulnerable students, this population of students that this is happening to, we have to be their voice.
A voice for those who sometimes can't speak for themselves, as the one who hurt them physically and emotionally prepares for the possibility of years behind bars. Boggs faces up to 10 years in jail. That's 1 year for each of those battery charges that she pleaded guilty to. If Judge Mary Claire Akers were to run those sentences consecutively, she would be sentenced to 10 years in jail, but she could get out in half that for good behavior. She'll find out on August 2nd. For now, reporting live at the Kanawha County Courthouse, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. It's a story that made headlines and sparked change in West Virginia law when it comes to teachers abusing students and cameras in special needs classrooms.
And it was first reported here on Eyewitness News when Leslie Rubin broke the story about the horrific abuse investigation underway at Holz Elementary.
Yeah, today she was there as families of the victims finally got to tell the teacher who abused their children exactly how they felt. Leslie.
It really was a stunning and extremely emotional hearing, as sobs could be heard from the families as that video was played that showed for the first time exactly what Nancy Boggs did to children with special needs in her classroom. We do want to warn you, some of the video is tough to watch.
You turned your classroom into a place of what can only be described as torture.
Torture at the hands of a teacher trusted with the most vulnerable students. And for the first time, we're seeing a glimpse of the abuse that happened inside Nancy Boggs' classroom at Holz Elementary. Chairs pulled out from under students. A child shoved across the classroom, jerked by her hair, while forced to sit for hours in isolation behind a partition. Children, all with special needs between the ages of 8 and 10, verbally and physically abused by the person they were supposed to learn from and trust.
It makes me sick.
Elizabeth Foley is the mother of Sophia Pressman, who was 8 when she was in Boggs' classroom. She also had her as a teacher the year before. Her family moving her to West Virginia for a better education.
She was living with me in Texas, and we thought it was a better opportunity for her because of the small ratio of kids to students, because in Texas it's a lot larger.
It was their first time seeing the videos and their first time speaking about what happened to their daughter.
She asked me every day over the summer if she was bad, why you would call her trash, why you told her that she needed to go home, that no one loved her, that I didn't love her dad didn't love her, that nobody loved her.
You made her eat lunch off the bathroom floor.
Boggs was initially indicted on 24 misdemeanor charges, eventually pleading guilty to 10. The classroom abuse case and another at Horace Mann Middle School, prompting the West Virginia legislature to rewrite the law, making it a felony for a person in position of trust, like a teacher, to abuse a child. Craig and Beth Bowden advocating tirelessly since learning their son Trenton was one of the victims. They wanted stronger laws when it came to cameras in special needs classrooms. Now, because of their work, the videos will be routinely reviewed and kept for longer periods of time.
We have the fight in us still, and we'll continue to fight to make it better and to bring good out of this horrible situation.
Boggs turning to the families when it was her turn to talk and offering a quiet apology.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your children.
But it didn't go far with the judge, who made the choice to show the videos, saying they showed the true magnitude of the case that had before only been discussed with what she called sterile descriptions.
This court finds that these offenses are brutal and malicious in nature against multiple children with exceptional needs who are among the most vulnerable in our society.
Immediately taken to jail, the veteran teacher will spend the next 10 years there, the maximum time allowed under the law. The parents tell me they now believe the abuse had been going on much longer than just that few days in September 2021 that Boggs was charged with. Under the new law, the video from more than 2,700 self-contained special needs classrooms that have these cameras must be reviewed for at least 15 minutes every 90 days.
An Eyewitness News exclusive now you'll only see here. We continue to cover that Holz Elementary special needs classroom deemed a place of torture by a judge. Well, today, 2 of the teachers' aides in that classroom are now facing criminal charges, accused of not reporting that abuse. Tonight, Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin was the only reporter there as they went before a judge. Leslie.
Dave, Lori Gibson and Lisa Perdue worked with Nancy Boggs inside her special needs classroom at Holtz Elementary. And now prosecutors said they should have, as mandatory reporters, reported any abuse within 24 hours. Instead, it took one of the children coming forward to spark this investigation that led to significant changes in statewide law. Less than a month after an elementary special needs teacher learned she'd be spending the next 10 years in jail for abusing students, her 2 aides are being charged in the case. Not for abusing the students, they're accused of not telling anyone it was happening.
Initially, the aides told us they didn't know anything about it. They acted like it was an isolated incident. But once we saw the videos, this stuff was going on weeks earlier. And I've seen it with my own eyes. They being in the room, children are being verbally abused, physically abused. There's no doubt that they knew it.
Lori Gibson and Lisa Perdue worked alongside teacher Nancy Boggs at Holtz Elementary as classroom aides. Under state law, they're considered a mandatory reporter. That means that within 24 hours, they're required to report suspected abuse to the DHHR.
It's a huge betrayal that these women knew that the children were being abused and didn't say anything.
Greg Bowden's son Trenton was one of the children abused. He says the families were adamant that every adult in that classroom be held accountable for the physical and emotional pain the children went through.
That's one of the things that gives you comfort as a parent, is you know that there's multiple adults in the room and one of them is going to do the right thing.
Gibson is facing 7 counts of failure to report. Court documents filed by Kanawha County prosecutors say she knew a 7-year-old girl was forced to eat out of a classroom sink. They say she was there when Boggs slapped and grabbed a 9-year-old, pulled a chair out from under a young girl, and hit that same girl with a cabinet door, among other instances that the state says should have been reported.
Our guilty plea entered on her behalf.
Perdue facing 6 counts of the same misdemeanor crime. You can see her here in the classroom video played at Boggs' sentencing, when a child had to sit behind a curtain for 4 hours without food or access to a restroom. And while the 2 aides aren't suspected of hurting the children themselves, the parents wonder why they didn't step in and put a stop to it. Lisa Perdue was released on a $1,000 PR bond. Lori Gibson will have her bond set when her arraignment is held because her attorney couldn't be at today's hearing. They've since been fired from Kanawha County Schools. Reporting live in the studio, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.